Hi class, good morning. Welcome to our week 3 topic on technopreneurship. After the discussions, the students are expected to define intrapreneurship as means of enabling organization change and pursuit of an innovative culture, and then justify the role of intrapreneur not only as an innovative thinker but also a strategic communicator capable of initiating change organizationally. Technopreneurship in a small medium enterprise. Technology-based entrepreneur is a method and the creation of a new company involving technology. And this technopreneurship and technopreneurs use technical advances to turn on this technology into a profitable goods and services. The technopreneurship is primarily related to the technical advances, where technology used as a framework of theoretical and operational knowledge and skills of the company for the development, production, and distributions of their goods and services so that it can be specified and embodied in staff, materials, facilities, equipment, and physical procedures and processes. The SMEs, due to their unique characteristics, are found to have an inherent capabilities to undertake the technological innovation successfully across the industries and nation. So while there is a considerable empirical evidence to throw light on SME's innovation, contribution in the context of the development country, there is hardly any evidence to reveal how innovative SMEs are in rapidly industrializing economies. The challenges to SME sector. Small and medium enterprises are often confronted with the problems that is uncommon to the larger companies and multinational companies. So these problems includes the lack of IT support. So IT personnel are in a high demand and are often attracted to a bigger companies and multinational companies. So it is very difficult to SMEs to attract good IT personnel. So it is even more difficult to retain them. Moreover, good IT personnel are expensive and may not be affordable by most of the SMEs. Next is lack of literacy. So many of the employees in SMEs started from the ground up after working with the company. So some of them are often holding supervisory or managerial positions. These employees are not be in a IT literate and often have the high resistance to the change in the working process that are comfortable. Next is the lack of formal procedures and discipline. So most of the SMEs do not have the formal procedure or often these are not documented. Furthermore, there is a tendency for these procedures to change frequently. So this makes it difficult for a third party to or a newcomer to understand the existing business practices and match them with the IT processes. And then we have the uneven awareness and management skills. So as the company grow, new managers are often introduced into the company. So there will be an old managers who are promoted from the rank and file, and then some of these managers may not been trained in the leadership and management skills, and these uneven skills among the managers often cause the conflict during the implementation. Next is lack of financial resources. As SME, the financial resources are often limited. So this often forces the company to select a solution which appear to be cheap initially. So however, the hidden costs will start to emerge during the implementation. So meaning, this sometimes causes the project to be abandoned of some time, which is sent the company into a further financial crisis. Lack of human resources. Implementation of some bigger scale company, the IT project, especially those that involve business processes across different departments or require large amount of the initial data entries, which require a human resource during the implementation. Some SMEs are often in the stage of frequent firefighting and shortage of the manpower. So this makes it very difficult for them to allocate time to carry out the implementation. Furthermore, there is always a conflict between getting the daily routine work and going to the extra IT implementation. Next is lack of experience of using consultant. A good consultant often saves time and effort and help to prevent the pitfalls during the IT projects. So however, most of the SMEs are lack of experience in working with the consultants. So the lack of knowledge in the field of IT makes them difficult in identifying the good consultant for the project. So they often feel that the consultant costs are too high and they can handle it with their own staff. So if the company has no staff that are experienced and knowledgeable in IT project, so avoiding the external help often costs more of the companies eventually. The characteristics of small business. So the experts have identified the following common characteristics of small business. The business rule is managed by the owner of the firm, and the management team of the business might consist of the family members, relatives, and close friends. So the responsibility for decision making normally lies with one of the key executive with a very little or no delegations of authority. Some small business owner maintain a high degree of concentration of authority. So they do not delegate, as they believe that if you want to think, if you want that thing to done right, so do it by yourself. So it appears to be a close management-employee relationship. The entrepreneurs take active part in the management and operations of the firm. So they develop a very intimate relationship with the employees by working along with them. So therefore, relationships are informal and friendly. Small business is an extension of personality of the entrepreneur. So it is a reflection of the dreams and the desires of the entrepreneurs. So generally, there are fewer function specialists, such as a full-time accountant or a personnel manager. So the nature of the work generally is not for those complex work. So moreover, if the work is complex, technically different, it is the owner who generally holds that capacity of who can strongly survive the task with his or strong command on the technology. So therefore, they can develop the skills or the semi-skilled person for their ventures. So other functional tasks are performed by owners, managers, and themselves with learning that the knowledge frame in the relevant field. So the firm normally has no more 2 tiers of the management reporting, and the size of employee is made limited by the law of the specific country. So in general, it does not exceed 100 persons. So in most cases, the owner managers are verbal communicators. So least number of written communication is made with the small businesses. So the instructions are generally made through an oral media of communication. So the firm often places the emphasis on the long-term planning. Although the owner-manager may be aware of the formal long-term plan is necessary, so the owner-managers entrepreneurs are reluctant to make a plan as it requires a handful or intellectual exercise with the past, the present, and the future data to profess the future. So the demand for continuous adjustment with the current environmental conditions sometimes discourage the entrepreneur to make. So normally, the firm is not listed with the stock of exchange. So the management of the firm is independent. They are not subject to any other supervision. So the entrepreneurs are the owners or the managers of small business. They are the sole authority of the firm to decide of the organizational matters. So the capital is supplied and the ownership is held by an individual or a small group of individuals, and the small businesses may take proprietorship, partnership, or the private limited company. So in this case, the number of owners is always limited and they hold the total ownership, and the supply requires the equity too. So the area of operation is mainly local with the workers and owners living in home community. However, the markets needs to be a local. The relative size of the firm with the industry must be small. So a small business should not have that major share of the market. The doctors, the dentists, and the lawyers are considered professional rather than the small business operators. So what are the strengths of small business? So we have innovations. Small business has the major source of innovations in our civilization, which is substantive numbers of successful innovations are implemented by small business. The sources of the new materials um, processes, ideas, and services and products are large business firms that are reluctant to provide or being provided by the small business. So thus, the small business acts as part of the innovation. Checks monopoly. Small businesses encourage competition by checking the development of monopolies by large businesses. So it produces new products and methods as well as the services and checks the large firms' tendency to control the market. So it also provides differentiated products that give the market a wide spectrum of choices. So therefore, small business keeps large firms on their toes, creates employees, small young employers or employees, high technology businesses which create jobs at a much higher rate. And then we have produces people. Small business has more intimate knowledge of its communities. Therefore, take more personality interest in them. So it takes community projects. It produces people as well as the goods and services. So it enables the community people to achieve a better rounded balanced development, and they can enjoy their large organization and provides them a greater variety of learning experience in the work activities. So people have a greater freedom in making decisions and in performing a greater variety of activities. So it lends zest and interest to their work. So it also trains people to become better leaders and to use their talents and energies most effectively. And then contribute to gross domestic products. So the small business contributes to the national economy of every country of the world significantly. So it generates at least 54% of the sales revenue and 40% of the gross national product. And then we also have the high financial performance. So the small businesses earns the higher returns on the owner's equity than the large manufacturer does. So because small businesses can respond quicker at less cost to quickening the rate in change into the products and services, processes, and markets. Insufficient inventory turnover. So small businesses faces inventory turnover problems that dogs that not blocks the or the dogs that only blocks the working capital. So it also affects the profit due to the lack of sales and deters the smooth progress of the operations of the business. And then we also have the improper markup, wherein the small businesses do not set its price policy with the sufficient market information, rather goes on the tradition cost plus or competitive pricing. So it sometimes does not cover the expected rates of return necessary for maintaining the financial strengths. So it observes that small firms that fail, they fail because of their insufficient return on investment. And then we also have the wrong location. Locations is one of the fundamental reasons for the success or failure of the small businesses. So it underscores the needs for the right location for the small business. And then we have poor credit granting practice. Uncontrolled receivables or poor credit practices affect the credit collection and the due positions. So it causes an extra pressures on the cash positions and other working capital items. So it seriously handicaps the firm to maintain the daily operations. Next is non-business family background. It is found that the business owners whose parents did not own the business have a greater chance of failure than the owners whose parents did own a business. Neglect. Little attention to the affairs of the small businesses by the entrepreneurs or owner-manager is a strong reason for the failure of the small businesses. Too much investment in fixed assets. The small businesses that have made an excessive investment in the fixed assets face the problems of operating funds. So it also requires the high operating expenditures and thus needs the high financial obligations too. So this heavy-headed structure operative capacity and causes the failure of the small venture. Next, we have the marketing inefficiency. The survival of the firm depends on generating sufficient sales from its market. So the market creation, maintenance, and expansions are tasks of the small businesses. So a study found out that the business owners without the marketing skills have a greater chance of failure than the others with marketing skills. And then we have the inefficient succession. This is a strong reason for early death or failure of small businesses. So the major or majority of the small businesses are the sole traders or partnership. So the sudden death of the entrepreneur or departure of the partners or incapability of an entrepreneur calls for the successors to take up the business. Lack of planning. Small businesses do not prepare business plans, have a greater chance of failure than the business that do. So there is a general neglect in the small businesses toward preparing a plan. For that, it loses its focus. The management functions. Management functions consist of the ethical accounting practices, human resources, facility management, information technology, and customer focus. So, ethical accounting practices. So, the accounting functions of a small business covers many areas, such as payroll, receivables, payables, taxes, financial statements. And then we have the human resource or human resources, wherein the small business owners are often surprised with the challenges that come with the managing their workforce, which requires the expertise in the science of human resources. So managing people can be a challenging part of the business and changes drastically as the company grows. And then we have facility management. Most businesses need to live somewhere, have an address and a front door. So facility issues arise once a company grows to a point where an office front or building is required to run the business. So when there is an office space, there are ongoing maintenance, cleaning, and upkeeping requirements. So most facilities management can be outsourced with reputable company that has an excellent customer service track records. Next is information technology. Technology runs most of our lives, so every organization is dependent on the technology to run their business. So it often makes a sense to outsource the IT function to a reliable vendor. So if you've ever had a hard drive crash or the server goes down, so you understand that the need to have a reliable support at a moment notice. So depending on the complexity of the organization, the office hours or times when a company is open for business. So different vendors have their different levels of the IT support. And then we have the customer focus. At the end of the day, the customers pay the bills and our salaries. So they need to be taken care of. So take the time to find out who your customers are and what they want. So successful businesses understand that focusing on the customer and be able to articulate what they want is the secret to success. So it is also crucial to be able to identify and resolve the customer's issues so you can ensure the loyal customer base. Website development. An organization website is often the first impression a potential customer has of an organization. A well-throughout or organized and user-friendly website is crucial in attracting and keeping the customers. So if you plan to create or develop a website, so make sure that the website is functional, user-friendly, and up-to-date. Next, we have the social media. Why does a small business need a social media? The social media has become the new strand of the business marketing. So the good news is that it is inexpensive or not expensive, but does require sometimes the skills and the strategy. So, but in the long run, you need to hire someone who understands the ever-changing technology so that you can keep your organizations in front of your customers. Next, we have the search engine. Most people today use the internet to find a business or a service. So make sure that the business website has a profile on all the business pages of the search engines. And then we have the work-life balance. As a business owner, it is crucial to maintain a healthy work-life balance. So building a successful business can be a great sense of accomplishment. But to neglect the family and friends and other personal interests can take it toll over time. So it is essential to take the time to reflect, think, and regroup regularly to maintain your mental health and business advancement. And don't forget the fun. So if you aren't having a fun at work, so you're in a wrong job. So as a business owner, you need to have fun to carve out the time to make sure that you provide a fun environment for your employees. So running a small business requires many skill sets, so which take the time to put the systems and processes in place to help you what you do best. So you have to hire a great people for this. Forms of business. So what is a sole proprietorship? So this is the most common form of a business organization. So the sole proprietorship is the simplest type of business in which the company can function. So the primary owner is not a legitimate entity. So it simply refers to a person who owns a company and is personally liable for its debt. It's easy to form and offers a complete managerial control to the owner. However, the owner is also personally liable for all the financial obligations of the business. How about the partnership as one of the forms of business? A partnership involves two or more people who agree to share in the profits or losses of a business. A primary advantage is that the partnership does not bear the tax burden by the profits or the benefits of losses. Profits or losses are passed through. So to partners to report on their individual income tax return. A primary disadvantage is that a liability, each partner is personally liable for the financial obligation of the business. Next is corporation. A corporation is a legal entity that is created to conduct business. A corporation is a legal entity that is independent and distinct from its shareholders. Corporations enjoys the most of the rights and responsibilities that individuals have. So the corporations become an entity that separates from those who founded, that handles the responsibilities of the organization. So like a person, the corporation can be taxed and can be held legally liable for all its actions. It can make a profit, and the key benefit of a corporate status is the avoidance of the personal liability. So the primary disadvantage is the cost to form a corporation and the extensive record keeping that are required. And then we have the hybrid form of partnership. A hybrid form of partnerships allows the owners to take advantage of the benefits of both the corporation and the partnership forms of business. So the hybrid entities combines the characteristics of the company with those of partnership or the sole proprietorship. So the advantages of these business formats that are profits and losses can be passed through the owners without the taxation of the businesses itself, while the owners are shielded from personal liability. The general partnership, so an incorporated business with two or more owners. So it is a corporate agreement whereby the two or more entities agree to share all its property, the income, and the financial and the legal liabilities of a joint ventures. Limited partnership or the LP. Registered business composed of the active and the general partners and passive limited partners. So it exists when two or more partners enters into a business together, but only one or more partners are liable up to the amount of their investment. Next, we have the Limited Liability Partnership or the LLP. Partnership structure that shields all partners from personal liability. So, in the LLP, each partner is not responsible or liable for another's partner misconduct or negligence. Next, we have the limited liability, limited partnership, or the LLLP. The type of a limited partnership with some liability protection for the general partners. So it is a type of business entities that a person can select as an option when setting up their new company. So an LLLP is a type of a business partnership. However, unlike an LP or the LLLP, generally partners liability for LLLP debts or obligations is limited. Limited Liability Company or LLC. The owners are not personally liable for the company's debts or liabilities. So limited liability companies are hybrid entities that combine the characteristics of a corporation with those of partnership or a sole proprietorship. And then we have the PLLC or the Professional Limited Liability Company. So the LLC structure for professionals such as the doctors, attorneys, and accountants. So it is a business entity that is designed for the licensed professionals such as the physicians, architects, engineers, accountants, lawyers, and dermatologists. How about the C Corporation? Incorporated businesses composed of the shareholders, directors, and officers. So it is a legal structure of a corporation in which the owners or shareholders are taxed separately from the entity. Next, we have the S Corporation. So incorporated business that is taxed as passed through the entity. So it is a special corporate ownership arrangement that allows a business to escape double taxation as it not required to pay the corporate income tax on the company's profit. An S corporation is a way of forming a business so that it pay less tax than other types of the corporation. How about the professional corporation? The corporate structure for professionals such as the doctors and the accountants. The non-profit. For-profit corporation that is certified for meeting social and environmental standards, they are legally required to consider the effect of their actions on their staff, consumers, suppliers, and the society on the environment. The estate separate the legal entity created to distribute an individual's property after death. And then we have the municipality, which is a corporate status given to a city or a town. To summarize, technopreneurship is a technical innovations that uses the experience and skills of the companies in the design, manufacture, and sale of their goods and services as basis so that they can identify and represented in the personal resources, facilities, physical, procedures, and processes. So small and medium enterprises or the SMEs are often faced with the challenges that are uncommon to bigger enterprises and multinational companies. So one key executive has the responsibility for decision making with a very little to no distributions of authority. And then we have the owner-managers of the small businesses retain a high degree of concentration of authority. Small business in an extension of the entrepreneur's personality. It is a product of entrepreneur's aspirations and desires. So researchers have identified many reasons for the failure of the small businesses. And there are different forms of business such as the sole proprietorship, the partnership, the corporation. We have the hybrid partnership, the general partnership, LP, LLP, LLLP, LLC, PLLC, the C corporation, the S corporation, professional corporation, the non-profit, estate, and municipality. So for this week, the references that are used and you may read for further studies. So these are the references. Thank you and good day.